4 kids closed up a fast food restaurant and never made it home. And 2 days later, they were found in the woods, shot, stabbed, and beaten. It was a Friday night in Speedway, Indiana, and inside this little fast food place called Burger Chef were 4 kids getting ready to close up the store. They're wiping counters, putting up ingredients, basically just trying to get out of there by 11 p.m. so they can go home and live their lives. But by midnight, just 1 hour after they were supposed to be closed, an employee decided to drive by the restaurant and stop in just to say hi, make sure that everything is good. But what he saw inside did not feel like a prank. The back door was weirdly wide open, the lights were still on, the safe had clearly been opened, and there were 2 trash bags missing. But what made it terrifying was that all 4 of the employees were nowhere in sight. And the most frustrating part about all of this is when the police show up. Instead of treating the case like 4 people had potentially been abducted or worse, they decided it was just a case of 4 teenagers who stole some money and ran off. And I wish I was joking when I say this. They don't secure the scene, they don't dust for fingerprints, and they don't take photos. They literally clean up the crime scene. Cause yeah, let's just sweep up the murder site, boys. Great work, real CSI. But the next morning when all 4 kids didn't make it home that night and every single family is calling the police station to report their child missing, the investigators were like, oh shit, these kids were not runaways. Something happened. Well, obviously, Sherlock. And 2 days later, 20 miles out deep in the woods, they found them. Still in uniform, still wearing their Burger Chef shirt. Daniel and Ruth were both execution style with a .38 caliber handgun. Jane had been stabbed in the chest with so much force that the blade literally broke off inside her heart. And Mark, the youngest one there, had been beaten so badly that he to death on his own blood. But here's the part that really messes with me. None of their wallets were missing, none of their jewelry was taken, so if it wasn't a robbery, what was the motive? Witnesses had later said that they saw 2 sketchy men outside of the restaurant that same night, one clean shaven and another one with a beard. Someone else had even remembered a very suspicious car being parked outside of the restaurant for way too long. And eventually, police released sketches that looked like nightmares, but that never led anywhere. Years went by without any real answers, until finally, a man named Donald Forrester, who was already in prison for another crime, confessed and said that he was involved in what was supposed to be a robbery. But it spiraled out of control when Jane recognized one of them, which would mean that it wasn't random at all. And the reason his confession was taken so seriously is because he knew things that he shouldn't have known. Like, he took police to a nearby water tank near the crime scene and said that that's where they tossed the shell casings. And when they searched it, the casings were right there, just like he said, which should have been enough, right? But then he recanted, which basically means he took back his confession. And because he recanted, it can no longer be used in court. How do you unconfess with that level of detail? If the info is correct, it's correct. And despite hundreds of interviews and tips, no one has ever been arrested. Not one person held accountable for what happened inside that restaurant. 4 lives gone, 4 families devastated, and an entire case erased by negligence and laziness. And 45 years later, the Burger Chef case is still one of the most haunting, senseless, and infuriating cases in Indiana's history. If you have a theory about what really happened, I'd honestly really love to hear it in the comments. As always, I will see you in my next video. I love you guys. Group hug.